Hello. Today we're here to talk about our research on Netflix and specifically why they're struggling in Asia. In the next few minutes, we're going to answer that question and propose a solution to it. First, we'll introduce the company, then analyze the problems based on cultural difference analysis. Then we'll talk about Netflix internationalization strategy and end the presentation with a short conclusion and our proposed solutions. Netflix is an online platform that enables its users to watch TV shows and movies on multimedia devices. It provides its services under three segments: international streaming, and domestic DVD. The network enables members to access and view more than 1 billion hours of TV shows and movies per month, including Netflix original series. Members can play, pause, and resume watching its content without commercial breaks or commitments. The company also provides DVDs by mail membership services. The company was founded in 1997 by Mitch Lowe, Reed Hastings, and Mark Randolph, and its current headquarters are in Los Gatos, California. It currently has about 109.25 million subscribers worldwide, out of which only 1.3% are Asian, which means 1.5 million subscribers.
We believe that one of the main reasons Netflix is having difficulties in the Asian market is the different culture. In order to objectively analyze the Asian culture, we use the Hofstede 6 dimensions model. We acknowledge that the model is not perfect, but it gives a good idea about the differences between the cultures and gives some direction in analyzing our problem. We picked China as our example of an Asian country since it represents a market in which Netflix has failed, and its culture is very similar to that of other nearby countries. These numbers alone don't mean much, so we decided to compare them with a Western country. We chose the United States as it is home to Netflix and many of its shows, and represents Western values. We can see very large differences in some of the dimensions, which already shows us just how different these two cultures are. Power distance shows that the Chinese accept the unequal distribution of power. They think that people shouldn't aspire beyond their rank. They also think that group comes before personal gains. These two views oppose many of the American values of independency, and that affects how Asia accepts some of the Netflix shows. High difference between the two countries' long-term orientations shows that the Americans honor tradition and history, while the Chinese try to look forward. The lack of indulgence means that China is a very restrained society. This low level of indulgence is also bad for Netflix. Netflix was seen as a luxury service in Asia, which the very restrained Asians didn't get as excited about as Americans, for example. Restrained societies like China do not put much emphasis on leisure time and luxuries.
My partner is to tell you something about the cage framework, which we used for analyzing if the Asian market is suitable for the US company Netflix. The cage framework consists out of four dimensions: the cultural, the administrative, the geographic, and the economic distance. About the cultural distance, you have already mentioned a few things. I just want to add 2 points. First, the taboos, because something can be a taboo in one country and another, it's even not worth mentioning it. Taboos can concern, religion or sexuality, especially homosexuality. And furthermore, the humor of Asian differs to a great extent from the American humor. It is also often very difficult, if not impossible, to translate humorous situations or jokes in other languages. The second point is the administrative and political distance, which is probably most visible between America and China, because China has a very strict censorship law and is very sensitive to the content of a film or series. Also, Sri Lanka and India have a very strict censorship law, as Japan, on the other hand, has no strict restrictions. In America, the censorship law is different from state to state, but generally it can be said that censorship is much weaker than in China. The administrative distance is shown in the lack of availability of high-speed internet in many Asian regions, but this gets better and better. The geographic distance was, from our point of view, no significant point, because Netflix gets only provided online. Last but not least, the economic and wealth distance, especially in poor developed regions, Netflix is not available For example, in India, the fee of Netflix for 1 month costs about the same as the average income of an Indian.
Now, one of the concepts we learned during the semester was about international strategy. To be more specific, we learned about four of them: global, export, multi-domestic, and transnational. During our research, we discovered that Netflix was trying to apply the transnational strategy, which is incorporating both multi-domestic and global strategy elements. And they did that by trying to keep their traditional platform and by striving to include Asian local contents. However, we came to the realization during our research that Netflix was focusing more on the global strategy aspect by focusing on standardizing their traditional platform and less emphasis on the multi-domestic aspect by not tailoring their traditional platform to the Asian market. By utilizing this approach, Netflix has encountered several problems, as mentioned before, such as not having enough local Asian contents, reaching only a small portion of the Asian market who speaks English, such as Singapore and India, age restrictions blocking majority of Netflix's most popular contents, or just simply Asian countries preferring local contents over the Western or American contents. And as a result, we believe that the international strategy they are using in the Asian market is causing them to struggle and keeping them back from thriving in the Asian market.
As a conclusion, let's go through the main reasons why Netflix is struggling in Asia. Firstly, there are some local restrictions and censorship laws on the allowed content. Secondly, there's already strong local competition in Asia. Netflix is also seen as an unreachable luxury with high prices, and it's hard to access in some areas due to broadband quality issues. On top of that, there's a big cultural gap between Asian and Western countries, and Netflix also lacks local content in a local language. As a solution, we propose that Netflix should lean more towards a multi-domestic strategy in their business. That means they should localize their content more, for example, through collaborations with local media producers. They should try to readapt the prices in some countries and offer a more functional offline viewing possibility in the areas where the internet connection is an issue. Last but not least, we think they should consider opening another headquarters in a non-English speaking Southeast Asian country, such as South Korea, to facilitate all this. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.